So what if the entire conversation we're having about AI is just wrong? What if it's not about jobs, but about the actual survival of our species? Today, we're diving into the pretty startling vision of Cisco President Jeetu Patel, who completely reframes the entire AI debate.
This is the question on everyone's mind, right? Is AI here to take our jobs? But what if that's not even the right question to be asking? What if the real stakes are just infinitely higher than we thought?
And this is exactly where Jeetu Patel's perspective comes in. He basically wants to shift the entire conversation away from things like productivity and efficiency and towards something way more fundamental: pure, simple survival.
I mean, that is a huge statement. We're not talking about quarterly earnings or making a company run better. We're talking about the literal survival of humanity. So why on earth would he make such a bold claim? Well, it all comes down to a really simple and, honestly, kind of scary set of numbers.
Okay, so here's the core of his whole argument. All around the world, birth rates are just plummeting. We are racing towards a future where a massive chunk of the population, we're talking maybe as high as 60%, is in an older age bracket with a smaller and smaller younger generation there to support them. And without some kind of massive leap in what we're capable of, that imbalance could cause unimaginable human suffering. And this is precisely why Patel sees AI as a megatrend, not just another tech hype cycle. You know, a hype cycle, like Web3, for example, it's often kind of hard to explain. It doesn't have a super clear use case right away. But a megatrend like AI, that's foundational. It's this inevitable shift that's happening. And his advice is really simple: don't fight it. Okay, but it's one thing to have this grand vision for all of humanity, and it's a completely different thing to actually make it happen inside a 90,000-person legacy tech company like Cisco. So Patel's challenge was just immense. How do you take a company like Cisco, which isn't really the first name you think of when you think of AI, and turn it into a leader? You see, big companies experiment with new stuff all the time, but their biggest failure is not going all in when something starts to work. They hedge their bets. Patel refused to do that. So he set up this really clear 3-pillar strategy. First, go all in, no hedging. The message from the very top was totally uncompromising. If you don't get skilled in using AI, your job is going to become irrelevant. Second, become a true platform company. And third, build an open ecosystem, even if that means you have to partner up with your competitors. Now, that second pillar is really key: becoming a real platform company. This isn't just about being a holding company that owns a bunch of different products. No, it means everything is tightly integrated. So when a customer uses 2 Cisco products, they work together like magic. But they're also loosely coupled, so a customer is never forced to buy the whole package. Now, to drive this kind of massive change, you can't just switch up the strategy. You have to completely change how you lead. And Patel's whole philosophy pretty much flips a lot of conventional management wisdom right on its head. Think about it. What's the standard advice every manager gets? Praise your team in public, but save any criticism for a one-on-one meeting, right? Well, Patel argues you should do the exact opposite. And his logic goes like this. You use your private moments to build deep, unbreakable trust with your people, to show them you absolutely have their back. Once that safety net is there, then you can use public forums for what they're actually for: solving problems. This means having direct, honest debates and critiques right out in the open so the best idea can win. No posturing, and definitely no shit sandwiches, where you hide real feedback between 2 fake compliments. You just treat people like adults. He also believes that a leader has to own the story. He uses this great analogy from networking called packet loss. You know, when you send data over a network, some of those little packets get lost along the way. Well, the same thing happens to a leader's vision. With every single layer of management it has to pass through, the message gets a little more distorted. His solution? Be the one in charge of the message. Deliver it directly to the front lines yourself. And for Patel, this right here is the most critical trait for anyone's success. You can always learn to be smarter. You can gain more experience. But what you cannot teach is hunger. That deep internal drive to just keep going is so much more important than raw intellect. So how can you actually apply this kind of thinking to your own project or your own company? Well, Patel lays out a really simple but powerful framework for building great companies. It all starts with you asking one single question. Do you have permission to play? I mean, does it feel logical and natural for your company to even be in this space? When Cisco says they're going to build networks for AI GPUs, it just makes sense. They have permission.
This makes sure you're starting from a position of strength, not trying to force your way into a space where you don't belong.
So once you have that permission, you apply this 6-part framework. And listen, the order here is absolutely critical. Number 1 is timing. It's the most important factor, and it's also the one you have the least control over. Next up is market. A great market can literally pull a mediocre team up. Then comes team, product, brand, and finally, distribution. You need all 6 to win, for sure, but you have to respect the hierarchy.
But for all the business strategy, the most powerful lesson that Patel shares isn't about markets or products at all. It actually comes from this incredibly vulnerable moment he had during his mother's final days. He was closer to her than anyone in the world, and as he sat by her hospital bedside just crying, she woke up.
Can you just imagine hearing that from the person you feel closest to in the entire world? For him, it was this profound, earth-shattering revelation. People, even the ones who know you the best, cannot read your mind. They just don't know how you feel unless you are explicit and you tell them.
The lesson was so simple, but it completely changed his perspective on communication. Don't be stingy with your words. I mean, if his own mother didn't fully grasp how much he loved her, what chance do our colleagues or our team members have of knowing that we appreciate them if we never actually say it out loud?
All right, so let's bring it all together. What have we learned today? We started with this huge idea of AI as a survival tool for humanity, driven by a coming demographic crisis. We saw how Cisco is transforming by going all in. We learned a counterintuitive leadership playbook that's built on public debate and private trust. We got a 6-part framework for success, and finally, a deeply human lesson. Be explicit with your appreciation. And this really just leaves us with one final thought. We spend so much time crafting strategies and building products, but we so often just assume that the most important human connections are understood. So, who in your world, whether it's at work or at home, are you leaving in the dark? What important things have you left unsaid?